If I can guarantee you one thing, it's that this podcast episode is the only episode you'll need to stop caring about what other people think about you so much and start living your life how you want to live it. It is exhausting seeking out acceptance from the people in your life just to be left feeling anxious, depleted, and unsure of your own desires and goals. This was me, and deep down I knew I needed a change, but I didn't really know where to start. The fear of facing criticism and disappointing other people held me back for so long, and I know you feel the same exact way. So I drew it out for you. This is exactly what I would share with my younger self if I had the knowledge I have today. Now I know you're probably looking at this going, oh my god, what is this? And we're gonna get into it in a second, but if you're new here, welcome. This is the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast. To anyone who's coming back, I know some of you remember me using a whiteboard in order to draw out these scenarios for you guys, and I simply cannot gatekeep this tool any longer. This is Scrintal, today's sponsor. Scrintal is what I use to script all of my YouTube videos, and this is why. It is basically a visual thinking and note-taking tool that combines an infinite canvas with document capabilities. So instead of using my little whiteboard to share with you guys exactly what I'm thinking and how all of this relates to each other, I made a board specifically for this podcast episode. That way you can follow along with all of the topics and see how all of these various ideas intersect. Scrintal is super helpful for someone like me who's a visual learner. I have ADHD, so I love how it's easy to navigate. I'll just go over some of the main features. So this is my brainstorming board. This is basically the infinite canvas I was talking about. You can create cards, and with those cards you can link them back to each other. All you have to do is click on that card, and you see these little dots around the corners. All you have to do is just drag the arrow to whatever other card you want to link it to. This is so helpful if your brain is like mine, where you have all of these different ideas and they relate to each other but they're very separate. You can also create columns or boards of cards that are all interlinked, and this is really important for different sections. Like let's say you have 3 different sections and you're working on something for college. Extremely helpful for organization, especially if you're trying to get all of your thoughts down on a piece of paper. Use code Natalie10 or click the link in my description to get 10% off your first month of Scrintal Pro. This is a game changer for any students out there or anyone who's wanting to do YouTube like me. In order to break free from approval addiction, you must understand where it comes from. We're going to be talking a bit about schema therapy today, which is essentially a elevated version of cognitive behavioral therapy. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, cognitive behavioral therapy is pretty much when you're taking your thought patterns and consciously changing the way you think in order to behave differently. A lot of you probably are like, what is a schema? Like, what are you even talking about, Natalie? But basically, a schema is a mental structure that creates your outlook and perception of the world around you. Schemas gather all of your lived experiences from the time you were born up into the present moment and makes decisions and behaviors based on that. Essentially, new information that you perceive in the world around you is connected back to what you've already experienced and what you already believe, either forming or solidifying a certain structure in your brain. Schemas are often the cause of a lot of biases and can result in repeating trauma cycles. Now, you guessed it, we are going to be talking about approval-seeking schema in today's video. Now, when it comes to approval-seeking schema, you must realize you have been positively enforced to seek other people's approval because it's helped you survive or it's benefited you in some way, shape, or form. The negative behaviors we have don't just come out of nowhere. It's not like we consciously choose to have this schema in our life. We've simply been taught that other people's opinions should matter more than our own. And there's a biological explanation for why we act this way. Our need to feel accepted within a social group goes back to our need to survive. It is equally as much of a need as food and water. There have been so many different studies that have shown how important social connection is for humans. We are social creatures, so to just say, oh, I just don't care, or just like push it off, isn't the most helpful thing to do in the world, because at the end of the day, your biology is telling you this person's opinion matters. And while yes, it can matter in your life, you decide how much of importance you are placing on this person's opinion. Your quality of life can be severely impacted if you aren't accepted accepted, so it's valid to have fear about being rejected. But I'm going to teach you exactly how to flip that in today's episode and really get to the bottom of your approval-seeking behavior. We have 3 different ways that we react to this approval-seeking schema. I'm also going to mention you can do all 3 at once too. I've been in all 3 positions, so if you're bouncing around, that's completely okay. Number 1, you can surrender to the approval-seeking schema, which is essentially you give in, you become a people pleaser. This is most likely where you're at now. You put your need to be accepted over your need to be authentic. It is not your fault. You were positively enforced for sacrificing yourself for others, whether that was sacrificing your personality, sacrificing your time, doing unnecessary favors. Whenever you didn't do those things, you received a negative reaction from people. So to sit here and say, oh, just like stop caring would be so crazy of me, because your lived experience has taught you other people know better than me and I cannot be myself. It is not safe. The second way you can react to this schema is to avoid it. In this sense, you'll avoid any situation where you're going to be judged negatively. Your anxiety is running your entire life. Instead of trying to get people to approve of you and people pleasing in a sense, you limit yourself by just not putting yourself in situations to be judged. You have such a crippling fear of people not receiving you well that you just don't want to be received at all. And I really want to talk about rejection sensitivity and anxiety in today's video because it's something that's really close to my heart. I tried so long to make people perceive me how I wanted to be perceived, and when they didn't, I would just distance myself and I would isolate myself in this feeling of nobody understands me and nobody's ever going to understand me. Was it lonely? Yes. But was it my safe space? Yes. I became attached to feeling like an outcast because belonging never really felt like something that was handed to me. My niceness was always taken for granted. I was always stepped over. I was excluded from groups, not even knowing why. And this turned into this really strong resentment for everybody in my life where I just like shut everyone out. If I can't be myself around you, I don't want to even be around you at all. I'm gonna be myself around me and I'm gonna feel hateful and depressed and shitty because nobody's in my life. But at least I can be myself. But a mindset shift that completely flipped this upside down for me is the fear of rejection from other people, especially strangers, and we're going to get into all of the 3 groups that you can fear being rejected by. When you perceive someone rejecting you or judging you, I want you to ask yourself, what do I think they're rejecting me for? Because whatever your mind goes to is the way you reject yourself. It is a projection of whatever ways that you have neglected yourself and outcasted yourself and who you really are. This also goes for the judgments that you cast on other people. For example, if you see someone getting really passionate about something and standing up for themselves, you might think in your head, oh, that person's kind of a bitch, like, right? You might think to yourself, like, this person is rude or demanding, or you'll label them as all of these different things. You're perceiving them negatively because that part of you is suppressed. You wouldn't know what to do in the situation that they're in. You don't like conflict. And moving on to the 3rd way that you can react to this schema is you overcompensate. Essentially, you'll lie to yourself and be like, oh, well, I don't care about them anyways. You'll start to insult other people when you feel insecure. And this is so on a subconscious level that you won't even know you're doing it. Especially if you're trying to fit into a group of people who might be judgmental, you'll start to notice that your own internal monologue becomes a lot more judgmental. Because naturally, you are trying to fit in with people who don't really think that deep about other people. They're not really empathetic in any way. You might insult someone to someone you're close to in order to seek their approval. The need to overcompensate for yourself to be approved by others can result in so much shame for yourself. When you've been in a cycle of seeking other people's approval for so long, you will literally hate yourself for existing. You will walk into a room and feel stupid and embarrassed for taking up space. Every single time you need to inconvenience other people, you will hate yourself for it. Whether it's getting up to use the bathroom or saying no that you can't attend a certain event, like, you will hold so much shame for just not being able to do something or not meeting up to somebody else's standards of you, and that that is such an intense amount of pressure, babe. We really need to uncover where that comes from, and shadow work can really, really help with that. Please don't just watch this video and just sit there and intake all this information. Take notes. This is why I have Scrintal in the background of my video. Like, it's so essential for you to understand this. I'm just gonna hit on the difference between shame and guilt real fast. Guilt is I did something bad. Shame is I am bad. I am damaged goods. And now that you understand the 3 ways you can react to this approval seeking schema, we're gonna go into 3 common scenarios of you seeking approval. Number 1 is approval from your parents. Number 2 is approval from strangers. And number 3 is approval from a certain social group. Let's just get it out of the way. Parents. It is biological. Okay, when someone gave birth to you or helped create you, it is natural to value their opinion. And this can show up in so many different ways, but written down on my board, I have high expectations. Basically, your parents had really, really crazy expectations of you. This caused stress and people-pleasing behavior because you never felt like enough. They never gave you the recognition that you needed in order to feel like your efforts were worth it. Your parents also might have rejected a certain part of you from a young age. Maybe that was a culture thing or a religion thing. But there was a part of you that you had to suppress in order to survive. You can also have a bad role model parent where they just didn't necessarily do anything with themselves, which also causes a higher expectation onto you because you feel like you have to save them. You kind of felt like you had to grow up fast in a lot of ways, and you resent them for this, but somehow you still seek their approval because at the end of the day, they're your parent. The main thing you have to recognize if you keep seeking approval from your parents is you need to put up boundaries. Once you're an adult and are capable of creating space and setting boundaries, you need to learn how to accept people as they are and place them where they belong. And I'm not saying it isn't hard. Like, it is extremely difficult. It is never easy to navigate family relationships, especially when you feel like nothing you do is ever enough. But please realize that you are worthy with or without approval from your parent. And sometimes a disagreement doesn't mean that you're gonna have a dissatisfactory life. Personally, I don't agree with this idea that like everything happens for a reason. Sometimes things just happen and they suck and you didn't deserve that, and that's it. Because trying to seek and find a reason for why this person doesn't accept you or why they're constantly on your ass will only make you resent yourself and resent them. Try to avoid topics that are just going to be negative around them, and if they are causing so much stress in your life, realize that blood family isn't always actual family. There are some things that are simply just unforgivable, but I would say try to seek a common ground and know what you can and can't talk about with them. You know, like accept people as they are and place them where they belong. I wish I could offer better advice, but I offer you real advice. I don't just say things to make you feel better. I'm telling you the genuine truth because it's what my lived experience is. Next, I want to talk about approval from strangers. This one's a weird one because it's like, why do you care so much about what strangers think about you? When you're scared of strangers judging you, it's because you perceive what they're thinking as morally correct. Whatever you think strangers are judging you for is a mirror to how you see yourself in society. People can never really stop judging you, and the reason why you're so fearful of judgment is because you naturally think that people are judging you negatively. Mentally, you are giving this person the right to judge you negatively in your brain, despite the fact that they don't even know who you are. You are valuing their opinion so highly because you naturally think that this person is just good. Why you came to that conclusion, I'm not sure, because there are so many people in the world who do way worse things than you do. But you like to hope that everyone in the world likes to be a good person, but that's because you're a good person. You try not to go out of your way and judge people, and when you do, you correct yourself in your own mind. You don't want to go out of your way to just be mean to people, but you assume other people are doing that to you because it's just what you've been used to. And it's also what we are perceiving online nowadays. In the modern age, our brain releases the same chemicals as a life-threatening situation when someone is judging us. That is because we don't have as many life-threatening situations as we used to years ago, right? If you were living in the medieval times or something like that, you would have a completely different way of looking at the world. But nowadays, our problems are so minuscule and honestly first world that we think other people judging us is like the biggest thing. When we have to put ourselves in a situation where someone is having to judge us or has the possibility to reject us, our brain just doesn't know what to do with it. In the modern era, everyone thinks they're entitled to their own opinion as well. Judgments from strangers are no longer just kept to themselves. We are witnessing a stream of consciousness where people are just saying whatever is on their mind whenever, which is why there is so much hate. And I want you to differentiate between someone's opinion and hate. It's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to give constructive criticism. It's okay to give constructive criticism, but if someone's coming on your page and just hating on you, this person literally had to take time out of their day to go on your page and leave some nasty comment when they could have just scrolled. And a lot of the times, these people who will leave these nasty comments, that's all they do. You'll see the comments that they leave on anybody else's video, and it's all negative stuff. When you realize the psychology behind someone who has that mentality and goes online just to hate on people, you almost feel sad. You almost pity them. But to get back on topic, when it comes to seeking approval from strangers, what you must realize is who you're trying to seek approval from in a societal context. What are the structures that have been in place to make you seem like the person you are today, and how do you see yourself in a stereotype? Because sometimes we can do so much to try to get out of the certain stereotypes that have been naturally placed onto us. But do you really want to prove to someone who has a negative stereotype in their mind about you or your people or whatever the case is? Please don't think that way. They already are a hateful person if they have that negative association and they judge you right off the bat based on something that you can't control. And that goes for so many different things. Realizing that you don't want to be around people who really don't like who you are and don't accept an essential part of you is so extremely important. These apps are naturally addicting. Some of the things that you are judging yourself in your brain for are literally marketed to you. That insecurity is not your fault and it's not even yours. It was just presented to you in a way that you thought it was your own mind. Because people are selling to you and marketing to you all the time. A good example of an insecurity that I didn't know why I had. A good example of this is I remember in high school I had a regular water bottle that I bought from Walmart, and then all of a sudden all of these girls got the hydro flask, right? These rude girls would bully me for my Walmart water bottle, so much so that I was like, dang, is this stupid to have? Maybe I should just get a hydro flask. And so I bought one because I didn't want to be judged. But did that change anything of my social situation in high school? Did I make more friends because I had a certain water bottle? No. But I was made to feel insecure for something just based on the fact that it was the trend of the time. If you're trying to be accepted by society, what you must know is that society can't even make up its own mind. Please stop trying to be accepted by society. I swear, if society was a person, it would have every single mental disorder, bipolar, multiple personality, because it just cannot make up its mind. Realize that sometimes the most popular opinion isn't the most right either, and vice versa. You can never be approved of by society because society can't make up its damn mind, okay? Approve of yourself and let society do whatever it's gonna do, because every single day it's going to say, you are worthy, you're not worthy, you are worthy, you're not worthy, and it'll leave you feeling constantly exhausted trying to keep up with all of these micro trends. Sometimes the solution is also to get off of social media. Go to a Walmart. If you're feeling dang, I'm ugly because you keep seeing all of these pretty girls on TikTok go viral for posting their face. If you're young, you're most likely more attractive than a lot of the people inside of a Walmart. Trying to fit some societal expectation will always leave you feeling exhausted, and ask yourself whose opinion actually matters, because I promise you society's doesn't. Okay, next we're going to talk about approval from a social group. It is so natural to want your friends to approve of what you're doing in your life, but how long are you willing to sacrifice yourself and who you actually are in order to be accepted by them? Ask yourself how you feel after hanging out with this group of people or this person. Do you even like them? Because sometimes we're trying to seek approval from friends that have been in our life for a really long time who we don't even like anymore. We don't even resonate with them. We have this attachment to trying to prove ourselves worthy to them because it reminds us of a past version of ourselves. All the growth you've made up until this point, you have been doing out of spite of certain people in your life sometimes. And it's okay to admit that. I have completely been there where I've transformed myself just because oh my God, this person hurt me so bad. I'm going to become the best version of myself. And I just turned all of this energy into spite and making them want to see me in a better place. And then I got to that better place and I realized, why do I feel like I'm not doing it for myself? This is what I want you to ask yourself about their opinion. Do they have nuance, right? Is their opinion including the context of your situation? Have they ever been in your situation? And are you or are you not heading in a similar direction in life? Never take advice from people who aren't where you want to be or on the same path as you, because they will never understand the lengths you had to go through in order to be at the place you're at today, because they are missing the context of everything you've been through in life to get to this point. Another thing about asking for approval from a social group, stop checking in. I feel like a lot of times we'll do this where we check in with our friends like, oh, should I do this or should I do this? Like with every single little thing. Learn how to make decisions on your own, even if it's what you want to eat or what you want to wear that day. Now, I'm not saying you can never ask for someone's opinion. I'm just saying be sure you check in with yourself of like, am I only doing this thing just because they said I should do it? Another thing to check with yourself, are you oversharing to others before you overshare to yourself? A lot of times when things happen, we don't really give ourselves a period to really dissect it in our mind. We go to that one friend or that one group of friends and just spill the tea to them. And yes, sometimes you can go and vent to people, but be nuanced with it, because sometimes things happen in your life and you need to give yourself the space to actually understand what's going on within you, because all you're going to do is lead yourself down a path of trusting their advice over your own. Now that we covered those 3 types of people you seek approval from, we're going to go into how to reframe this. First things first, I've been asking this the entire video. Ask yourself whose opinion matters, right? Include your opinion in the equation when you're talking about what these people think about. Your opinion of yourself is just as valid as anyone else's. In fact, it's even more valid when you really think about it. Another thing to ask yourself, redirect your mind on if this person's opinion is going to matter in X amount of time. Is their opinion going to matter in a month? Is it going to matter in 6 months? Is it going to matter in a year? It can really put it in perspective for you how little this person's opinion matters. Because if it's just a day of you ruminating on what this judgment is, or maybe not even a full day, maybe literally just like 20 minutes, is it really something to get so worked up over? In my opinion, absolutely not. Next, create an alter ego. This is so extremely powerful. Like when I say create an alter ego, I'm not saying become your fake self, but before you go somewhere anxiety inducing, pretend to be the heightened version of yourself when you go outside. It's kind of like the main character effect where you like walk around and pretend like you're a main character, except you actually have morals and standards and you don't just record people and like be a public embarrassment. I don't know, like, but what I mean by that is paint yourself out as the main character in your own life when you are going to somewhere anxiety inducing. Curate this version of you before you go out and approve of that version of yourself. Spend like 5 minutes before you go out just being like, I love how I look today. I curated it exactly how I wanted. Despite the fact that I'm going somewhere where people are going to perceive me, I perceive myself and I approve. Consciously choose the interpretation that you want other people to have or gives you the most peace. Like if someone is judging you, assume that they're judging you positively. Like if you're minding your business out in public and you are slaying with your outfit and someone's eye contact bothers you in a way, be like, damn, they're checking me out. Like, I'm so sexy. Like, I don't know. Even if you have to lie to yourself, sometimes that's the best way to go and move on with your day. Not everyone thinks negatively of you, and even if they do, it doesn't really affect you most of the time. For example, if someone is walking down the street and they think your shoes are stupid, that is 15 seconds of their day, and then they're gonna get distracted by something else. We try so hard to control the outcome of whether or not people are going to receive us well, when we need to start controlling the outcome of if we perceive ourselves well, because that's something you can control. You can create a healthy version of yourself. You can love yourself. You can give yourself grace. You just need to get out of this victim mindset of thinking that everyone hates you. Because not everyone hates you, babe. You hate yourself sometimes, and that's okay. But you need to own up to it, and you need to seek solutions. You can't just stay hating yourself forever, because then you're gonna surround yourself with people who hate you too. And then what? And last but not least, give yourself 5 minutes. This is so extremely powerful and has helped me in so many different times in my life. Give yourself 5 minutes to just allow yourself to be anxious. Time it out too. Go to your timer on your phone and entertain this thought of other people judging you and perceiving you stupid. So many of us try to avoid this emotion altogether, whether it's, oh, I think this person is judging me. Anyways, I'm gonna take another drink. So many of us just like ignore it, and sometimes that is the case, but other times it's good to like let yourself feel anxious. That way you can pick your brain apart. When that part of your brain says, oh, you look really stupid today, you'll be like, no, I don't. No, like I specifically got this outfit because I really liked how it looked, and now other people are looking at me and I think I look stupid. No. Pick your own brain apart. The more that you can become aware of that little negative voice within your head, judging you for every single little thing, the more you can turn it into a voice that's more positive about yourself. That way you can play around with it instead of just trying to avoid it. As my brainstorming board says, you are valid in wanting to feel accepted, but limiting yourself is not going to help you grow, babe. With that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast. If you want to check out this brainstorming board for free, go check the link in the description. And also, if you want 10% off Scrintal Pro for your first month, be sure to use code Natalie10 or the link in the description. I have so many different racing thoughts, and this helps me organize all of them, especially when it comes to videos like this, where I'm really dissecting why you care so much about what other people think about you and what you can do about it, because all I want for you is to become the best version of yourself. So if you like that and you'd like to stick around, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Let me know down in the comments what part of this video you related to the most. I want the comment section to be like group therapy, okay? Respond to other people, share your experiences. We're in this together. I'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna have this little period at the end where I just talk about how difficult it was to record this video. Like, when I say I recorded an hour and 30 minutes of this video, guess what happened? The audio cut out. Woo! So I literally skipped class to make this podcast. And that might not be the best idea, but at the same exact time, like, I want to get this video out for you guys. And it's the start of the semester, so one day of me not being there won't hurt, right? All right, bye y'all.